This is Melrose, a substantial Victorian villa in the village of Bacton-on-Sea on the east coast. It was bought 3 years ago by Mr Max Jenkins, and since then he spent a lot of money improving it. For the £3,500 that he paid for it, you might think that he got something of a bargain. But there's one big snag. He can't look out of his window. The view that Mr Jenkins should have of the sea is totally obscured by these boards just 3 feet from his window. And it's not only the ground floor window either, for at the top of the telegraph poles are more boards which block the light and the view from the upstairs window. And if you're wondering why on earth Mr Jenkins doesn't remove the boards, well, the answer is that he can't, because they're not on his property. In fact, they're on land belonging to his next-door neighbour. And if you think that his next-door neighbour has every right to protect her privacy, well, of course she has. But she doesn't actually live here. Nobody lives here. And except for a few weeks in the year, this house is empty. The owner of the boards restricting Mr Jenkins' view is Miss Day, who lives 20 miles away in Norwich, where she enjoys unrestricted views from her windows of her neighbours in Cecil Road. It seems that you're in the most extraordinary predicament here with these boards up outside your windows. How did you ever come to buy the house without realising it?
And I thought they were just a windbreak, you know, to keep the east winds off the windows. And I thought to myself, well, once they get installed, I'll pull them down and that'll be that, you know. But it didn't work quite like that, because I got up there one Saturday morning with a cold chisel and a hammer and started bashing, and away comes a local down the road and he says, I should leave those alone if I was you. So I asked him why, and he said, well, this is governed by the law of ancient lights. So I thought, well, I better make inquiries. So I went to see the owner of the property, who happened to be there at the time, and she said, oh, no, you can't touch those. My father put them there in 1915, and there they're going to stay. So when I asked her why, she sort of waffled on about the law of ancient lights, but didn't seem to really know what it was all about. So I approached the local council, Smallborough. And after 2 or 3 weeks of waiting and messing about, well, they came back and said they couldn't really do anything. I didn't really get anywhere at all. Then I went to my solicitor, and he sort of waffled on again about ancient lights and got a few books out and said, well, I'll come back to you when I found out more. But again, nothing happened. So in desperation in the end, I approached Ralph Howell, the local Conservative MP. And I must say he was most helpful. He came hearing over and said, well, this is absolutely ludicrous in this day and age, you know, it can't just be allowed to stay. I'll go and talk to Miss Day, and I'm sure she'll take them down if I appeal to her better nature. Anyway, he came back about half an hour later and said, you were dead right, Mr Jenkins, over my dead body.
Considering that Miss Day doesn't even live here, surely with a little persuasion she would allow you to take these boards down, wouldn't she?
Oh no, she was most adamant, absolutely adamant about it, both to me and to Ralph Howell, the MP. Definitely must not come down in her lifetime.
And so I came to this street in Norwich where Miss Day lives in this house and where she spends 3/4 of her year. I knocked at the door and I asked her, would she be prepared to tell me why she insists on keeping the boards up? She declined to comment. She said she had no wish to say anything, and in fact, to all intents and purposes, she really refused to say anything to me.
Well, what can I do? I don't want to go to court and be involved in a lot of expense. It's just an eyesore and a darn nuisance, and it seems to me I've either got to put up with it or wait for somebody to come along and say, well, this is the thing to do. Perhaps there is some way around this law that I haven't heard about yet.
Do you ever feel tempted to blow the consequences and just bash them down?
Oh, very tempted indeed. In fact, several people have said to me, would you like me to do it one dark night sort of thing, you know, but I've resisted all temptation so far anyway.
What could the consequences be at worst?
Well, be taken to court, I suppose, and probably made to replace them, and possibly be fined for trespass, of course, because I'd have to go onto her property to cut them down. Everybody who comes to see me, they motor down the road, and the first question they ask is, whatever have you got those boards over your window for, you know? And you get so fed up with telling the same tale over and over again as to why they're there and what you're trying to do about it, that if I could get rid of them, I should be a very happy man.